Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum class. How are you? So you have completed 4 chapters of biology. This is chapter 5 Chemical Coordination, lecture number 1 with Mrs. Sadia Kazi. Let's have the introduction. How do you define coordination? Coordination when all organs of the body they work together in a harmony to perform different functions. The coordination in animals is brought about by nervous coordination and chemical coordination. Chemical coordination involves endocrine system which comprise endocrine glands in various parts of body that secrete hormones. Now girls, you are well aware of the words endocrine, glands and hormones. However, we shall again see their definitions in coming up slides. The objectives of today's lesson are role of endocrine system in chemical coordination, hypothalamus as master control center. We'll study pituitary gland, its anterior lobe, median and posterior lobe. The disorders due to over and under secretion of hormones. Chemical coordination defined. It's a type of coordination present between the cells or different organs within the body of multicellular organisms. In this kind of coordination, a group of cells release specific chemicals which regulate the activities of other cells of the body. Because the cellular functions need to be continuously regulated. The nerve fibers they do not innervate all cells of the body. A special kind of coordination system is required. The endocrine system serves the role to coordinate most body cells. Glands and type. Glands are the tissues that produce and release some products called secretions. There are 2 types of glands, endocrine glands and exocrine glands. Exocrine glands are the glands having ducts. These glands they make their secretion into their cells and they pour their secretion in their lumen, and from these ducts the secretions they move out. However, endocrine glands they these cells, the endocrine gland, they are dependent upon vascular supply, blood supply, so that the hormones may reach the different specific sites where the receptors are present. So if we look at this figure, we can see 2 important differences in exocrine and endocrine glands. First difference is presence of duct, and second difference is vascular supply. So endocrine gland they are highly vascularized. Endocrine system. The term endocrine is derived from 2 Greek words. Endo means inside, within, and krenes for secrete. The secretions are the chemicals called hormones from Greek word which means to excite. The field of study dealing with endocrine system and its disorder is called endocrinology. The endocrine glands are part of endocrine system, which, like nervous system, coordinate the functioning of body parts. The nervous system is fast acting and utilizes the nerve impulse that travel rapidly along nerve fibers. The endocrine system is slow acting because hormones are chemical messenger that affect metabolism of cells. A hormone can be defined as a substance that is manufactured and secreted into bloodstream by an endocrine gland and regulate growth or functioning of specific tissue or organ in distant part of body. It's a small organic molecule effective in low concentration. A hormone is serving as a chemical messenger because it transports signal from one cell to another. It shows its effect at a site where specific receptors which are present that are called target site. You see, a hormone does not seek out a particular organ. Rather, the organ is awaiting for the arrival of hormone. A hormone is traveling in the bloodstream to all parts of the body, but the organ where the specific receptors are present that will show the response, and that organ will be called as the target site. Chemical nature of hormone. Basically, hormone fall into 2 basic categories. Hormones are organic molecules of varying structural complexity. Chemical categories of hormone as per your book. Steroid hormones, protein hormones, catecholamine, amino acid derivative, and peptide hormone. At the start of this slide, I have told you the hormone fall into two basic chemical categories. लेकिन इधर 5 लिखी हुई हैं. मैं अभी भी कहती हूँ बेसिक कैटेगरीज 2 हैं. कैसे? Think over it. Yes, these are steroid hormones, protein hormones, catecholamines, amino acid derivative, peptide hormones. क्या इन चारों में क्या चीज़ सेम है? Yes, they are peptide, they are proteins, peptide hormones. ये है लिपिड, स्टीरॉयड और बाकी ये पेप्टाइड्स हैं. तो दो बेसिक कैटेगरीज हैं, लेकिन हम इनको 5 में क्यों तकसीम करते हैं अभी मैं आपको बताती हूँ. ये आपकी बुक में जो लिखा है, आई हैव गिवन इट अ शेप ऑफ अ टेबल. हार्मोन कैटेगरी इज स्टीरॉयड हार्मोन. स्टीरॉयड हार्मोन बुक में नहीं लिखा, लिख लीजिए. स्टीरॉयड हार्मोन्स आर लिपिड्स, लेकिन आपको पता है, आपने फर्स्ट ईयर में पढ़ा है, दे आर डिराइव्ड फ्रॉम कोलेस्ट्रॉल secreted by adrenal cortex. Hormones are cortisone and aldosterone. Testes secrete testosterone. Estrogen is secreted by ovaries, while placenta secrete progesterone. Protein hormones are the hormones that comprise of the chain of polypeptides consisting of more than 100 amino acids. Anterior pituitary secretes somatotropic, thyrotrophic, and gonadotrophic hormone, while insulin is secreted by pancreas. These are protein hormones. Catecholamine, monoamino acid derivative, adrenal medulla secrete adrenaline and noradrenaline. Amino acid derivative is thyroxine hormone secreted by thyroid gland. Peptide hormones comprise of the chains of amino acids less than 100. Median lobe of pituitary secrete MSH, posterior lobe oxytocin and ADH, anterior pituitary adrenocorticotropic hormone, thyroid gland calcitonin and parathyroid gland parathormone. तो क्या फ़र्क है प्रोटीन हार्मोन और पेप्टाइड हार्मोन में? प्रोटीन हार्मोन comprise of the chains of polypeptide more than 100 amino acids. Chains more than less amino acids. This is the difference. Mode of action of protein hormones. Protein hormones, protein and peptide hormones, they cannot pass through cell plasma membrane because they are water soluble. They cannot enter into it. So these hormones, they are called first messengers. They come and they attach with the specific receptor cell which is present at the plasma membrane. This hormone receptor complex activate various proteins present on the plasma membrane that activate inner machinery of the cell, inner metabolic machinery, resulting in a second messenger. This second messenger, it activates the metabolic machinery of the cell to produce desired effects. Look at your book, see your book. The hormones first messenger bind with their receptors on plasma membrane of target cell, starting a series of events in the cell that generates second messenger, for example, a cyclic AMP. The second messenger triggers various changes in the cell, include activation of enzyme and gene activation. So second messenger receive the signal from first messenger and relays and transport and relays the signal to interior of the cell to make various reactions for completion of the action. Now this is a video for this mode of action of a protein hormone. Please use it.
Peptide hormones influence their target cells without actually entering them. They bind to receptors on the target cell's plasma membrane. This will trigger one of a variety of responses. For example, Epinephrine from the adrenal medulla binds to a receptor on the membrane of a liver cell. Epinephrine's effect on this cell will be the breakdown of glycogen to glucose. The binding of epinephrine to the receptor activates the enzyme adenylate cyclase, which converts ATP to cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP acts as a second messenger and sets off a cascade of reactions that activate a set of enzymes. In this cell, the enzymes catalyze the breakdown of glycogen to glucose, and glucose can be released from the cell.
G class, listen one more thing, write on your book. Peptide hormones activate existing enzymes in the cell. As you have seen this video, कि अंदर जो एंजाइम्स हैं पेप्टाइड हार्मोन उनको थोड़ा एक्टिवेट करते हैं ताकि काम हो सके. The steroid hormones, however, they bring about synthesis of new proteins. कैसे फ़र्क है मोड ऑफ एक्शन दोनों का? इफ़ आई आस्क यू अ प्रिसाइज क्वेश्चन ऑफ 1 मार्क्स, हाउ व्हाट इज़ द डिफरेंस इन द मोड ऑफ एक्शन ऑफ स्टीरॉयड हार्मोन्स एंड पेप्टाइड हार्मोन, तो आप लंबी कहानी मुझे नहीं बताएंगे कि जी पहला मैसेंजर होता है, दूसरा होता है, ये वो नहीं. You will say peptide hormones activate existing enzymes in the cell, while steroid hormones bring about synthesis of new proteins. This is the basic difference. बाकी ये कि peptide hormones cannot enter the cell interior, while the steroid hormone, it is lipid in nature and it freely comes inside the cell. ये उसके अंदर फौरन आ जाता है. ठीक है, तो इसके लिए कोई रिसेप्टर बाहर मौजूद नहीं है, इसका रिसेप्टर सेल के एंटीरियर के अंदर है, साइटोप्लाज्म में या न्यूक्लियस में उसका रिसेप्टर अंदर है. The steroid hormones, they do not bind the hormone receptors on the plasma membrane. They enter the cell and nucleus freely. Once inside the nucleus, the steroid hormones such as estrogen, progesterone bind to hormone receptors. The hormone receptor complex then binds to DNA. Particular genes are activated: transcription of DNA, translation of messenger RNA. In this manner, steroid hormone lead to protein synthesis. ये क्या आ गया भाई? ठीक है, क्या हुआ? Steroid hormone enter into cytoplasm or nucleus where the receptor is present. Receptor के साथ hormone receptor complex. Hormone receptor complex attaches DNA. DNA के बाद messenger mRNA, transcription and then translation to form new proteins. ये तो आपको समझ आ गई है. इसकी ज़रा वीडियो भी दिखाती हूँ, और उससे पहले इसी पेज के ऊपर एक दो चीज़ें हैं जो आई वुड लाइक यू टू राइट. पहले थोड़ा वीडियो देख लीजिए.
Steroid hormones are not water-soluble. They travel in the blood attached to protein carriers. When steroid hormones arrive at their target cells, they dissociate from their protein carriers and pass through the plasma membrane of the cell. Some steroid hormones bind to specific receptor proteins in the cytoplasm and then move as a hormone receptor complex into the nucleus. Other steroids travel directly into the nucleus before encountering their receptor proteins, not shown. The hormone receptor protein, activated by binding to the hormone, is now able to bind to specific regions of the DNA. These DNA regions are known as the hormone response elements. The binding of the hormone receptor complex has a direct effect on the level of transcription at that site. Messenger RNA, mRNA, is produced, which then codes for the synthesis of specific proteins.
Okay जी, and this is it. आपकी बुक में please look at page number 96, steroid hormones. Second paragraph, Hormones bind with the receptors to form hormone receptor complex. The complex then binds with promoter region of particular gene, acting as transcription factor. G. What is promoter region of gene? Promoter region is basically a regulatory region of a gene. A regulatory region of a gene carrying binding sites for attachment of enzyme that will make messenger RNA as a process of in the process of transcription. तो ये promoter region किधर है? जीन के ऊपर, और that will act as transcription factor. Now we shall move on to our next slide, that is endocrine system of man. Endocrine system of man comprise of 20 ductless glands. In our book, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, pancreas, adrenal and gonads, we shall see all of them in detail one by one. Hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is basically master control center. Hypothalamus is the part of forebrain. It regulates a wide spectrum of physiological functions such as hunger, thirst, sleep, and temperature. Hypothalamus also monitors metabolites and monitors metabolites and hormone level in blood. The hypothalamus is master control center of endocrine system. Endocrine signals directly its endocrine signals directly control the pituitary gland. It contains special groups of neurosecretory cells. These cells conduct impulses and have developed secretory capacity to a high level. So इसका मतलब क्या है? What is neurosecretory cells? Neurosecretory इसका काम नर्वस सिस्टम में है. इट कैन कंडक्ट इम्पल्सेस. सिक्रीटरी का मतलब है इट सिंथेसाइज एंड रिलीज हॉर्मोन्स. मास्टर कंट्रोल क्यों कह रहे हैं? इसलिए कि जो पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड है दैट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट ग्लैंड एंड इट कंट्रोल्स अ लॉट ऑफ फंक्शंस ऑफ द बॉडी, and it have stimulating hormones for different other endocrine system. इसको कंट्रोल भी कहाँ से आता है? डायरेक्ट हाइपोथैलेमस से. Neurosecretory role. So neurosecretory cells are present in hypothalamus. इनकी जो सेल बॉडीज हैं इसके अंदर ये हॉर्मोन्स बनते हैं. Via axons they come down and they are stored in posterior pituitary. एक्सॉन टर्मिनल्स, एक्सॉन बल्ब्स के अंदर स्टोर होते हैं हार्मोन. जैसे ही नर्व इम्पल्स मिलती है स्पेसिफिक, तो फिर ये रिलीज हो जाते हैं. याद रखिए कि जो पोस्टीरियर पिट्यूटरी है वो खुद कोई हार्मोन सिक्रीट नहीं करता. दो हार्मोन, एंटी डायूरेटिक हार्मोन और ऑक्सीटोसिन, दोनों they are released from posterior pituitary, but they are produced in they are produced by neurosecretory cells of hypothalamus. So this hypothalamus, it produces two kinds of factors. One are रेगुलेटरी फैक्टर्स जो कह दिया. एक ग्रुप हो गया रिलीजिंग फैक्टर्स का और दूसरा ग्रुप किसका हो गया? इनहिबिटिंग फैक्टर्स का. रिलीजिंग फैक्टर्स इन टर्न स्टिमुलेट अदर ग्लैंड, और ये जो इनहिबिटिंग फैक्टर है इट इनहिबिट सिक्रीशन ऑफ हॉर्मोन्स. किस ग्लैंड से? पिट्यूटरी से. सो रेगुलेटरी हार्मोन जो हाइपोथैलेमस के हैं, रिलीजिंग फैक्टर और इनहिबिटिंग फैक्टर, दोनों के दोनों इफेक्ट किसको करते हैं? पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड को. ठीक है. हाइपोथैलेमस, ये आप इसके मुख्तलिफ हार्मोन्स हैं विच आर गिवन इन योर बुक एज वेल. ये आपकी बुक में इट्स अ फिगर ऑफ मेजर एंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड्स एंड लोकेशन इन ह्यूमन बॉडी. हाइपोथैलेमस, पिट्यूटरी, थायराइड, थाइमस. ये इसको यार इसको दुरुस्त कर लेंगे. पता नहीं मेरी जो बुक है उसमें थोड़ी मिसप्रिंटिंग है, पता नहीं यहाँ ट्राई आइडो थायरोफॉक्सिसिन लिखा हुआ है या क्या. ये है ट्राई आइडो थायरोनिन और कैल्सीटोनिन. ये थायरोक्सिन लिखा हुआ है, ट्राई आइडो थायरोनिन है और कैल्सीटोनिन है. थाइमस है जो एडल्ट में आपको पता है इसकी एट्रोफी हो जाती है, ये श्रिंक हो जाता है। एड्रीनल ग्लैंड, टेस्टिस, गोनेट्स, पैंक्रियाटिक, आइलेट्स, डाइजेस्टिव ट्रैक्ट में जो हार्मोन्स हमने एंडोक्रीन पढ़े थे, जो दो हमें याद भी होंगे, एक हमने सिक्रीटिन पढ़ा था और दूसरा हमने गैस्ट्रिन पढ़ा था। किडनी में है जी रेनिन, एरिथ्रोपाइटिन, कैल्सिट्रॉल, ये अभी आपको थोड़ा बताती हूँ आगे। हार्ट में जी है नेट्रीजुरेटिक पेप्टाइड्स है, ANP एंड BNP। ये इसका जो काम होता है ANP और BNP का, ये बेसिकली इन्वॉल्व इन एक्सक्रीशन ऑफ सोडियम बाय किडनी, excretion of sodium by kidney, ANP and BNP। while pineal gland जो टॉप पे लिखा हुआ है मेलेटोनिन, it is involved in sleep wake cycle। एडिपोज टिश्यू में लेप्टिन जो है ये क्या करता है, एक्ट्स टू अल्टर द फूड इनटेक एंड कंट्रोल ऑफ एनर्जी एक्सपेंडिचर ओवर लॉन्ग टाइम। leptin acts to alter food intake and control of energy expenditure over long term, while resistance called high level of blood cholesterol LDL, bad cholesterol जो होता है, blood नहीं सॉरी bad, cause high level of bad cholesterol, जो बुरी कोलेस्ट्रॉल है वो रेजिस्टेंट इसको ज़्यादा करता है। एज एडिपोज टिश्यू इन दोनों हार्मोन्स को सिक्रीट करते हैं। व्हाट आर एडिपोज टिश्यू? दीज आर fat tissues। Hypothalamic hormones and their effect on pituitary gland, that is on page number 97, table 8.1। hypothalamus release growth hormones releasing factor, और इसका effect anterior pituitary पे है। ये जब GHRF रिलीज होता है तो ये क्या रिलीज करता है, पिट्यूटरी क्या करता है, ग्रोथ हार्मोन रिलीज करता है। सोमेटोस्टेटिन हाइपोथैलेमस है, ये सिग्नल करता है इंटीरियर पिट्यूटरी को टू इनहिबिट रिलीज ऑफ ग्रोथ हार्मोन। थायोट्रोफिन रिलीजिंग फैक्टर TRF, एंटीरियर पिट्यूटरी का क्या रिस्पॉन्स है, सिक्रीशन ऑफ थायराइड स्टिमुलेटिंग हार्मोन। एड्रीनोकॉर्टिकोट्रोफिन रिलीजिंग फैक्टर, सिक्रीशन ऑफ एड्रीनोकॉर्टिकोट्रोफिक हार्मोन। प्रोलैक्टिन inhibiting factor, inhibit secretion of prolactin। Gonadotropin releasing hormone, secretion of FSH and LH। So this is hypothalamic hormones and their effect on pituitary gland, a tabulated form। Pituitary gland, pituitary gland is a very small size, about the size of a pea, और तकरीबन 1 gram इसका जो है weight होता है। It is attached to hypothalamus by a stalk-like structure which is called infundibulum। So this is इस gland को master gland कहते हैं because it controls the secretion of other endocrine glands। Pituitary gland is a very important gland of the body। So it is divided into 3 lobes, anterior, posterior and median। median जो है human में, mammals में बिल्कुल ही थोड़ी सी रह जाती है, ज़रा सी होती है, वो वहाँ से हार्मोन रिलीज होता है। anterior lobe of pituitary, ये बुक वाला ही फिगर है। anterior lobe of pituitary release 6 different type of hormones। growth hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, gonadotrophic, prolactin, oxytocin and ये नहीं, यहाँ तक ये जो पर्पल कलर के 1 2 3 4 ये गोनाडोट्रॉफिक दोनों इकट्ठे कर दिए हैं, ओवरीज और टेस्टिस, तो ये टोटल 6 हो गए। growth hormone, come to your book। growth hormone or somatotrophic hormone is released under the influence of hypothalamic growth hormone releasing factor। hypothalamus GHRF रिलीज करता है, उसकी वजह से ये ग्रोथ हार्मोन रिलीज हो जाता है, और hypothalamus somatostatin inhibit GH has a direct effect of growth and development। GH growth hormone stimulates cell growth and cell division। It stimulates uptake of amino acid by the cells and increase the rate of protein synthesis। The GH is produced in greater quantities during childhood and adolescents, और adults में इसकी आस्ता आस्ता ये कम हो जाती है। Deficiency of growth hormone result in dwarfism। dwarfism में क्या होता है, in which the development is much slower and individual has a short stature, however the body parts stay in proportion and brain development and IQ are unaffected। Gigantism is a result of oversecretion of GH during childhood, in which the bones are still capable of growth and person increase in height abnormally. Oversecretion of GH in adult life causes acromegaly, in which bones are no longer capable of increasing in length but grow in thickness. Acromegaly is characterized by enlarging hands, feet, skull, nose and जॉबोन तो ये ओवरली लार्ज हो जाते हैं हाथ पाँव स्कल वगैरह जाइगेंटिज्म एंड्रोफिज्म यू कैन सी इट Thyroid stimulating hormone thyrotrophin releasing factor from hypothalamus stimulate synthesis and release of TSH from anterior pituitary. TSH regulates the endocrine functions of thyroid gland. It increases the number of cell and secretory activity of thyroid gland. Oversecretion of thyroid causes hyperthyroidism. Excess of thyroxine and its undersecretion cause hypothyroidism. ये तो आगे ही चल पड़ा है खुद ही. अब the thyroid stimulating hormone TRH, thyrotrophin releasing factor, thyrotrophin releasing hormone from a hypothalamus stimulate anterior pituitary to release thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone act upon thyroid follicle to release thyroid hormones into blood by the cells. ठीक है. Adrenocorticotropic hormone. It is secreted by release of corticotropin releasing factor from hypothalamus, which is controlled by steroid level in blood and by direct nervous stimulation in hypothalamus as a result of stress. For example, heat, cold, heat, pain, fright and infection. ACTH act on adrenal cortex and stimulates secretion of corticosteroids, cortisones and aldosterone. Follicle stimulating hormone FSH and luteinizing hormone LH are called interstitial cell stimulating hormone in males. यानी ल्यूटिनाइजिंग हार्मोन को फीमेल में LH होता है और मेल में होता है ICSH. And prolactin and or leukotropic hormone are collectively called as gonadotropic hormones. These hormones act upon reproductive system and regulate the function. Hormone function PRL stimulates breast development, promotes maintained lactation after childbirth. FSH cause formation of ovarian follicle, stimulates sperm development. LH initiate ovulation, regulates testosterone and production in males. ये corpus luteum वगैरह इधर लिखा हुआ तो है लेकिन आप इसको नेक्स्ट चैप्टर 4 वो रिप्रोडक्शन वाले चैप्टर में डिटेल में पढ़ेंगे. मीडियन लोब ऑफ पिट्यूटरी. देखिए अगर आप इंटीरियर और पोस्टीरियर लोब को देखें और उसके हिसाब से मीडियन लोब को देखें तो ये बिल्कुल ही छोटी सी है और प्रोमिनेंट नहीं है. इट्स अ थिन लेयर ऑफ सेल्स बिटवीन इंटीरियर एंड पोस्टीरियर पिट्यूटरी. इट प्रोड्यूसेस melanocyte stimulating hormone MSH. Secretion of MSH is regulated by hypothalamic MSH inhibitory hormone. The melanocyte stimulating hormone increase in humans during pregnancy too. It stimulates the production and release of melanin and melanocyte in skin and hair. They are especially important in some skin of they are found in skin of some fishes, amphibians and reptiles where they stimulate color change. Melanocyte dispersed throughout the cells. ये सारा ये ब्लैक डॉट्स melanocytes के हैं. The cell appear dark. और लाइट कैसे हो जाते हैं अगर यहाँ से सारे दरमियान में इकट्ठे हो जाएं एग्रीगेटेड इन द सेल हो तो द सेल अपीयर्स लाइट. मेलानोसाइट एंड मेलानिन ये डार्क कलर का पिगमेंट प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं. पोस्टीरियर लोब ऑफ पिट्यूटरी सिक्रीट द फॉलोइंग हार्मोन्स. यहाँ सिक्रीट वर्ड लिखा है आपको पता है कि ये सिक्रीट नहीं होता क्योंकि जो पोस्टीरियर लोब ऑफ पिट्यूटरी है ये सिर्फ स्टोर करता है हार्मोन्स को स्टोर करता है. पोस्टीरियर लोब स्टोर करता है और इसको सिक्रीट कौन करता है सिक्रीट करता है हाइपोथैलेमस. तो यहाँ पे सिक्रीट का वर्ड गलत है. यहाँ पे क्या होना चाहिए कि इट स्टोर्स. खुद ही ठीक कर लें मेरे ख्याल बुक में तो ठीक लिखा हुआ है. Sometimes while making the slides errors might be there. So posterior pituitary is not glandular by itself. It does not synthesize any hormone. It is largely made up of axons of neurosecretory cells of hypothalamus. So इसमें से कौन से cells दो तरह के निकलते हैं, ऑक्सीटोसिन और ADH. ADH antidiuretic hormone affect the kidney tubules, and oxytocin uterine muscles and mammary glands. Posterior pituitary is not at all glandular. It is comprising of neurosecretory cells from hypothalamus, kidney, mammary cell glands, and uterus. Antidiuretic hormone. Posterior pituitary stores antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin and oxytocin. These hormones are released in response to nerve impulses from hypothalamus. ADH is produced during state of dehydration, decreased blood volume, and low blood pressure. अब क्या होता है कि जब लो ब्लड प्रेशर होता है तो एडीएच सिक्रीट होता है, जिसकी वजह से द किडनीज दे एब्जॉर्ब मोर वाटर और कंसनट्रेटेड यूरिन इज फॉर्म दैट यू हैव डन इन चैप्टर नंबर 2. Over secretion, under secretion of ADH causes diabetes insipidus, which is characterized by excessive production of diluted urine and frequent thirst. Over secretion may lead to kidney problems. ठीक है, antidiuretic hormone basically regulate the kidney for urine outflow. Oxytocin sources manufactured by hypothalamus, stored and released by posterior pituitary. Uterus and breasts are the target sites. So this is all for today, girls. The assignment for today is draw diagrams to show mode of action of various hormones. Draw table 18.1, page 97. This assignment is for your practice. Thank you very much and stay blessed.